Okay, so what if I told you that some of the AI tools you might be using right now, maybe things like Claude Desktop or Cursor, could actually be exposing your entire system
Exposing it how?
to malicious code? We're talking about this, well, this huge security hole in a really new protocol for AI agents. It's called the Model Context Protocol, MCP.
Right, MCP. I've been hearing a lot about that, but a security hole. That sounds
It
serious.
is, and it's been pretty much overlooked until recently.
Huh.
But here's the twist. What if there's now a solution? Something that's already got over 1 million polls in just weeks.
1 million. Wow. Okay, so what is it?
It could completely change how we do secure AI development. So today, that's our deep dive. We're connecting the dots between container security, these AI agent protocols like MCP, and the big push to make AI tools actually ready for production.
Got it. So our mission today is really to unpack this whole MCP thing, the good, the bad, and this potential fix. We need to look at this hidden security crisis in AI development.
Exactly. And explore how this new solution might just become the standard way forward.
And this really matters, right? It's foundational. It decides if AI agents stay as cool experiments or if they actually become, part of our daily work. The security side of this is frankly more critical than most people probably realize.
Okay, let's dig in. Our sources paint a picture of this Model Context Protocol, MCP. Anthropic introduced it.
Right, Anthropic.
And the idea was a standard way for AI agents to talk to outside tools and data. Think of it like HTTP, but specifically for AI agents.
Like a universal translator for AI accessing the real world,
Yeah,
Stripe, MongoDB, GitHub, you name
exactly. A common language. And the adoption, it just exploded.
Oh, yeah. Within weeks, the whole ecosystem just blew up. Hundreds of these MCP servers popping up everywhere.
And that catalog you mentioned earlier, the one with 1 million polls, that really shows the demand.
Definitely. Developers are building these things like crazy. It seems like there's an MCP server for almost anything now.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Think about it. Before MCP, every single AI app needed custom code for every single tool it wanted to touch.
Total nightmare. A massive headache for developers.
MCP solves that. You build one MCP server, say, for accessing Salesforce data,
Mm-hmm.
and then any AI agent that speaks MCP can use that same server. No more custom plumbing for every app.
It really is a game changer for building AI applications faster. But, and this is a big but, there's a dark side to that rapid growth.
Okay, here we go. The hidden crisis part.
Yeah. The way developers are currently finding and, more importantly, running these MCP servers is, well, it's pretty alarming from a security standpoint.
How so? What are they doing?
You see these commands everywhere, like npx server name or uvx server name. That's become the standard way to just quickly try out a new MCP server you found somewhere.
Right, NPX or UVX.
Yeah.
For those listening who maybe aren't developers, these let you run tools without installing them first. Super convenient.
Super convenient, yes, but incredibly risky in this context.
Why? What's
Yeah.
actually happening behind the scenes with those commands?
What's happening is you're downloading and immediately executing arbitrary code directly onto your main system, your host machine.
Arbitrary code. So potentially code written by anyone on GitHub.
Potentially, yes. And here's the kicker. That code runs with full access.
Full access to what?
Everything. Your entire file system, all your network connections, your environment variables, potentially containing secrets like API keys, passwords.
Wait, really? Just from running NPX on some random MCP server?
Yes. Full system resource access. You're essentially giving untrusted code you probably haven't vetted, the keys to your entire digital kingdom. Your company secrets, personal files, everything on your machine.
That sounds incredibly dangerous, like inviting a stranger into your house and letting them rummage through everything.
That's a good analogy. And this isn't theoretical. This is how the whole MCP ecosystem is operating right now. Thousands of developers every day, often inside companies with sensitive data.
I can see how it happens. You're experimenting, moving fast with AI. You just want to see if this new tool works.
Exactly. The pace of AI innovation encourages this just try it mentality. Security becomes an afterthought.
Do the AI tools themselves, like Claude Desktop, offer any protection?
Some might try to limit access to environment variables, maybe, but it's definitely not universal. And it's not nearly enough protection against arbitrary code execution. It's a band-aid on a bullet wound.
So this really is the hidden crisis.
Yeah.
The tools making AI powerful are simultaneously punching huge holes in security. If you've used Claude Desktop with these MCP servers, have you actually stopped to think about what code you might have run?
It's a sobering thought.
Okay, so clearly something needed to change. And this is where Docker comes in.
Precisely. Docker saw this unfolding crisis and stepped in with a solution that's, frankly, both elegant and really comprehensive.
What does it involve?
It's built around three core ideas. First, they created the MCP catalog on Docker Hub. Think of it as a curated, searchable app store, but for MCP servers.
Okay, so better discovery. No more hunting through Discord.
Exactly. Second, and this is crucial, every single MCP server runs inside its own isolated Docker container, not directly on your machine.
Container isolation. That sounds like the key security piece.
It absolutely is. And third, they introduced a two-tier security model. You have servers built by Docker, offering the highest level of security, and then you have community-built servers that still get the huge benefit of container isolation.
Let's talk about the catalog first. How does that help, beyond just finding things?
It organizes everything by use case. So you can browse categories like data integration, think databases, APIs, or development tools, communication tools like Slack or email, productivity analytics. It makes finding the right tool much easier.
And you can search effectively.
Yeah, really robust search. By capabilities, the tools they connect to, GitHub tags, categories, not just relying on knowing the exact server name. It's designed for how developers actually look for these things.
Okay, but the real game changer sounds like the security model, that container isolation and the two tiers.
Definitely. Let's break down those tiers because it's quite clever.
All right, tier one, built by Docker. What does that actually mean for security?
It means enterprise-grade assurances. These images are cryptographically signed, so you know they haven't been tampered with since Docker built them.
Okay, integrity checks. What else?
They include software bill of materials, SBOMs. That's like a detailed ingredient list for the software showing every component. Hugely important for vulnerability management.
Right, knowing what's inside.
And provenance attestations. That tells you exactly how and where the software was built, proving its origin, plus continuous vulnerability scanning and automatic security updates from Docker. It's the whole package.
That sounds like the gold standard, seriously. What about tier two, the community ones?
So for community-built servers, Docker doesn't control the build process itself. But, and this is the critical part, they still run inside a Docker container.
So even if the code inside isn't vetted by Docker to the same degree, it's sandboxed.
Exactly. It's isolated. It doesn't get that free reign access to your entire system like the NPX method. It's a massive security improvement over the status quo.
That two-tier approach seems smart. It gives everyone an immediate path to better security via containerization, even for existing community servers.
Right. And then projects that need that extra assurance or enterprises using them can aim for or choose the built by Docker tier.
And just to hammer it home, container isolation means instead of full system access.
The container only gets access to what it strictly needs and only what you explicitly allow. Controlled network access, maybe specific file volumes you mount, but not your whole hard drive, not your secrets, not your private network connections. It leverages Docker's decade of experience in securing production workloads.
Are companies actually using this already?
Yeah, ClickHouse is a great example. They've put their MCP server into the catalog, and they specifically went for the built by Docker tier to get all those security guarantees. It shows that serious players see the value.
And is it easy for developers to use these catalog servers?
Super easy. If you have Docker Desktop installed, it's literally a one-click launch from the catalog interface.
No complex setup, no dependency hell.
Nope. Docker Desktop handles launching the container and connecting it automatically to your AI tools like Claude, Cursor, or VS Code. It takes away the pain and adds the security.
Okay, so zooming out, Docker's approach seems to tackle a whole bunch of problems at once, right? Not just the scary security one.
Absolutely. Think about all those traditional headaches with distributing software like MCP servers. Environment conflicts doesn't need Python 3.9 or 3.0. Dependency nightmares, what libraries does it need? Do they clash with my other tools?
Yeah, been there.
The total lack of isolation we already covered. Complex setup instructions that differ for Mac, Windows, Linux, and zero verification of the actual code you're running.
Containerization just solves all of that.
Pretty much. A container packages the application and all its dependencies together. It runs the same everywhere, isolated from everything else. Docker's catalog adds the discovery and the security verification on top.
Let's trace the workflow then. For one of those top-tier built by Docker servers, how does it get that seal?
Okay, so a developer submits their server code, usually via Docker's GitHub registry. Docker then takes that code and runs it through their secure build pipeline.
Which does what exactly?
It builds the container image, signs it cryptographically, scans it thoroughly for known vulnerabilities, generates the SB-bomb and the provenance attestation documents.
Right, all those security goodies.
Then it gets published to the MCP catalog with that clear built by Docker badge. It's a vetted, verified process.
And for the community servers.
The developer builds their own Docker image first. Then they submit that image, again, probably through GitHub. Docker primarily verifies that it is a properly containerized application ready to run isolated. Then it appears in the catalog, clearly marked as community built.
So the user knows the difference, but still gets the container safety net.
Precisely.
Now, at runtime, when I click Run in Docker Desktop for one of these catalog servers, what's happening under the hood to keep me safe?
Okay, deep breath. Docker Desktop starts the container with the principle of least privilege. It only gets the permissions it absolutely needs. Network access is tightly controlled. Maybe it can only talk out on a specific port, or maybe not at all initially. File system access is restricted, usually only to specific directories called volumes that you might choose to share with it, never your whole system.
What about environment variables and secrets?
Those are managed very carefully. The container doesn't inherit your host machine's environment, and it absolutely cannot access your host's sensitive files or secret stores unless you deliberately configure it to, which you generally wouldn't for an MCP server.
So it's running in a secure little bubble.
A bubble built on the same tech that secures billions of containers running critical apps in production worldwide. It's leveraging Docker's core strength.
And somehow my AI tool, like Claude, just talks to this server in its bubble without realizing all the security is there.
Yeah, Docker Desktop cleverly manages the networking behind the scenes. It exposes the necessary port from the container to your local machine so the AI client can connect to it, just like it would connect to a server running directly via NPX.
But securely.
But securely. The AI agent doesn't need to know how it's secured, just that the server is available. It's transparent security.
That also feels like it sets them up for future steps, doesn't it? If it works locally like this.
Oh, absolutely. This is likely Docker's long-term play. They're hinting strongly at remote MCP servers.
Meaning, running these not on my laptop, but in the cloud.
Exactly. Imagine managed, scalable MCP services. Teams could share capabilities without everyone running copies locally. You could enforce even stricter security for really sensitive operations. It paves the way for truly cloud-native AI applications built with proper isolation from the start.
And how easy is it for developers to actually get their servers into this catalog?
Seems pretty straightforward. It's a simple GitHub pull request process. They choose the tier they're aiming for, community or Docker built, and submit. Docker's team reviews and publishes. They're apparently already processing hundreds of these submissions.
It sounds like they're trying to work with the MCP community, not take it over.
That seems to be the approach. They're positioning themselves as providing the secure distribution and runtime layer, the plumbing, while collaborating with the folks maintaining the official MCP registry for discovery.
So you get centralized discovery maybe from the official registry, but secure, easy deployment via Docker.
That looks like the winning combo they're aiming for. Best of both worlds.
Okay, let's talk impact. What does this mean right now for how people are building and using AI?
The immediate impact is huge for security practices. Docker is, in effect, making the secure way the easy way.
Right, you mentioned flipping the security paradox.
Exactly. Usually security adds friction. You have to do extra steps. It's more complicated. Developers, under pressure, often skip those steps. Here, using the Docker catalog is arguably easier than finding a random GitHub repo, cloning it, managing dependencies, and running it insecurely with NPX.
So convenience and security are aligned for once.
And that's incredibly powerful for driving adoption of better practices. When the most secure option is also the most convenient, developers will naturally gravitate towards it.
And those numbers you cited earlier, 1 million polls, hundreds of submissions suggest they are.
Absolutely. It proves there was a massive pent-up demand for exactly this kind of solution. Developers knew the old way felt risky, but there wasn't a good alternative. Now there is.
This also feels like a really smart strategic move for Docker itself.
Oh, definitely. They're positioning themselves as critical infrastructure for the AI era, just like they did for the cloud-native era with containers.
So for you listening to this, maybe in your organization, what does this actually enable?
A few key things. First, safe enterprise AI adoption. Companies that were hesitant to let developers run potentially risky AI tools now have a controlled, secure way to do it.
Makes sense. Reduces the risk.
Second, it helps move AI from just cool experiments to real production applications. You can't build reliable production systems on shaky, insecure foundations.
Right. You need proper infrastructure.
Third, compliance and governance. With Docker's solution, especially the built by Docker tier, you get audit trails, SBOMs for vulnerability tracking, controlled access, all the things security and compliance teams need.
And finally,
Scale and reliability. Applying proven cloud infrastructure principles, containerization, isolation, secure builds to the world of AI tooling.
in that ClickHouse example, again, choosing the high security Docker tier, that really underscores that businesses are seeing AI tool security as a requirement now.
It's becoming table stakes, especially as AI gets integrated into core business processes.
How does this shake up the broader market? Are other companies scrambling to catch up?
They probably are, or should be. Other container platform security vendors, they'll be looking at this. But Docker has some serious advantages here.
Like what?
Their existing massive developer base, over 20 million users already familiar with Docker. Their proven infrastructure, Docker Hub, handles billions of image pulls, decades of security expertise baked into their platform. And the seamless integration with Docker Desktop, which is already on so many developer machines. It's a tough position to compete with quickly.
It feels like a sign that the AI tooling space is growing up, moving past the initial sort of Wild West phase.
That's a great way to put it. We're moving from rapid, sometimes reckless experimentation towards a more mature, enterprise-ready approach, where security isn't an optional extra, it's baked in.
And the timing seems perfect, just as AI is really starting to shift from labs into production workflows.
Exactly. Security becomes non-negotiable at that point, and Docker is right there providing that essential foundation. So a question for you listening, what's your own experience? Are you seeing concerns about AI tool security in your work? Is there a demand for safer ways to develop with AI?
So looking ahead, what are the possible futures here?
Well, you could see a few scenarios play out. Scenario one, Docker's approach just becomes the standard. Running an uncontainerized MCP server becomes unthinkable, like running production web servers without patches today.
Okay, de facto standard. What else?
Scenario two, Docker leverages this success to become the indispensable infrastructure layer for all sorts of AI applications, maybe moving into model serving, agent orchestration, building out a whole AI platform.
Expanding their AI footprint significantly.
Right. Scenario three, the rest of the industry catches up. We see broader adoption of similar container-based security standards for AI tools across different platforms, maybe inspired by Docker's catalog model.
Which one do you think is most likely?
Honestly, probably a mix of all three. Docker has definitely hit on a real need and executed well. They've got momentum.
So for people listening, what are the immediate actionable things they should do?
Okay, if you're a developer using or experimenting with AI tools that use MCP servers, start using the Docker MCP catalog today. Seriously. It's free on Docker Hub, it's more secure, it's easier. Make it your default.
And if you're building these MCP servers yourself,
Submit them to the catalog. Choose the community tier, or even talk to Docker about the Built by Docker process, if it's critical. You'll reach a huge audience and contribute to better security for everyone.
and for organizations, for companies.
Use this as your chance to enable your teams with powerful AI tools without throwing security out the window. You can set policies, encourage use of the catalog, maintain governance, and actually accelerate AI adoption safely. The bigger picture here is about timing and infrastructure. AI is moving to production, and it desperately needed the security and distribution layer. Docker provided it right on cue. And remember those hints about remote servers. This is just step one for them.
What keeps striking me is the parallel. Containers became fundamental for cloud-native apps. It feels like secure tool distribution, like this Docker catalog, is becoming just as fundamental for AI-native apps.
I think that's exactly right. Docker isn't just fixing today's problem with NPX. They're building the infrastructure needed for the next wave of AI applications, the ones that will be truly integrated and mission critical.
And as AI gets more critical, that security aspect just becomes paramount.
It shifts from being seen as a constraint to being the enabler. Security is what will allow AI innovation to happen safely and reliably at scale.
So here's a challenge for you listening this week. If you use tools like Claude or Cursor, try finding and running an MCP server through the Docker catalog instead of the old way.
Yeah.
Just experience the difference.
Feel the security.
Exactly. And let us know what AI tools are part of your workflow. Have you worried about their security? How would a secure by default approach change things for you? Because in this AI era, security isn't holding back innovation, it's paving the road for it.